Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So here we are. We're doing a quick reading in the Association of Lord Nityananda. And inside, because it's getting really cold outside.
And it's dark as well.
And it's dark, and it's one of those nights. All right, so where are we reading?
Canto 3, Chapter 16, Text 17. Jaya and Vijaya cursed by the sages.
Cursing, counter-cursing it. But now, if we remember, then the four Kumaras are kind of like bewildered by the fact that Krishna is speaking to them in such a humble mood and taking responsibility, and they're like, well, we're confused here. You should be chastising us, right? Kind of thing. Okay. Which text was it?
17.
Okay.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You're reading the person?
O Lord.
Oh Lord.
You are the supreme director of the Brahminical culture. You're considering the Brahmanas to be in the highest position is your example for teaching others. Actually, you are the supreme worshipful deity, not only for the gods, but for the Brahmanas also. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita, it is clearly stated that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes. There are undoubtedly many demigods, the chief of whom are Brahma and Shiva. Lord Vishnu is the Lord of Brahma and Shiva, not to speak of the Brahmanas in this material world. As mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord is very favorable toward all activities performed according to Brahminical culture or the qualities of control of the senses and mind, cleanliness, forbearance, faith in scripture, and practical and theoretical knowledge. The Lord is the supersoul of everyone. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord is the source of all emanations. Thus, he is also the source of Brahma and Shiva.
Interesting. That's actually, that last line is part of the verse that I'm speaking on tomorrow morning in class.
There you go.
Any thoughts?
Just continuing that for Kumaras is saying, basically you're teaching us through your example how we should treat others. Meaning, not just say the gods, demigods and all that, but each up Brahmanas, he's given an example of how, by the way he's talking to the four Kumaras, this is culture, this is how to speak and respect yourselves,
Very nice. Okay, text 18. You are the source of the eternal occupation of all living entities, and by your multi-manifestations of personalities of Godhead, you have always protected religion. You are the supreme objective of religious principles, and in our opinion, you are inexhaustible and unchangeable eternally. Purport. The statement in this verse, Dharmasya Paramo Guya, refers to the most confidential part of all religious principles. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. The conclusion of Lord Krishna in his advice to Arjuna is, give up all other religious engagement and just surrender unto me. This is the most confidential knowledge in executing religious principles. In the Bhagavatam also it is stated that if one does not become Krishna conscious after very rigidly executing one's specified religious duties, all his labor in following so-called religious principles is simply a waste of time. Here also the sages confirm the statement that the Supreme Lord, not the demigods, is the ultimate goal of all religious principles. There are many foolish propagandists who say that worship of the demigods is also a way to reach the supreme goal. But in the authorized statements of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, this is not accepted. Interesting. Bhagavad Gita says that one who worships a particular demigod can reach the demigod's planets, but one who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead can enter into Vaikuntha. Some propagandists say that regardless of what one does, he will ultimately reach the supreme abode of the Personality of Godhead, but this is not valid. I want to bring that up in a minute. The Lord is eternal. The Lord's servitor is eternal, and the Lord's abode is also eternal. They are all described here as sanatana, or eternal. The result of devotional service, therefore, is not temporary, as is the achievement of heavenly planets by worshiping the demigods. The sages wanted to stress that although the Lord, out of his causeless mercy, says that he worships the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, actually the Lord is worshipable, not only by the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, but also by the demigods. Okay, so that's the end of the purport. So this is interesting, and yes, again, it makes sense that by worshiping the demigods, it's not the same as worshiping the Lord. And just by worshiping the demigods, it doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to go to the same place, because, as Prabhupada quoted in the purport from the Bhagavad Gita, the one who worships the demigods goes to the planets of the demigods. One who worships the forefathers goes to the planets of the forefathers. And those who worship the ghosts and, what does it say? Anyway, the ghosts and goblins or something like that.
Goblins.
Yeah, goes to be with such living entities. So like that. So that's true. At the same time, there is a place in the Gita where it explains that one who worships a demigod, he inadvertently worships me. Krishna says, but he does so in a wrong way. And there's another place where Krishna explains that he also gives the faith by which one can worship these different devatas. So it's a kind of a chincha beta abeta tattva sort of scenario where it's simultaneously one and different. Krishna says, Mama Vartmano Vartante. He says, one follows my path in all respects. So there's a little bit of a thing there. And we have to remember sometimes when we're trying to make a specific point to a specific audience, we may state a specific thing, and it's not necessarily in contradiction to something else. Because if you understand, as we were just reading actually in the Bhagavad Gita, if one understands the purposes served by, one understands the origins of a small well, then one can understand how that well can serve all purposes at the same time. But anyway, I hope this hasn't been too confusing, but the point still remains that if we try to worship a demigod, whatever, Surya or Chandra or Varun or Vayu or someone like that, and we think that we're going to get to Krishna, we may get there eventually, but we may not. It may take a long time. We may get very distracted. At the same time, if we have absolute understanding, we can understand that ultimately Krishna is behind all of these living entities. But the point that is really being made here is that our focus should be Krishna and not to get distracted by worship of the demigods. Does that make sense, or is that just a ramble?
It makes sense.
Okay. All right. Should we move on to the next verse? Unless you have some more to add.
No, let's move on to Prabhupada.
To Prabhupada. Yes, right.
What was it?
Oh, I should know that. Text 19.
Mystics and transcendentalists, by the mercy of the Lord, cross beyond omniscience by ceasing all material desires. It is not possible, therefore, that the Supreme Lord can be favoured by others. Purport. Unless one is favoured by the Supreme Lord, one cannot cross over the ocean of the omniscience of repeated birth and death. Here it is stated that yogis or mystics cross beyond omniscience by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many kinds of mystics, such as the Karma Yogi, Jnana Yogi, Dhyana Yogi, and Bhakti Yogi. The Karmis particularly search after the favor of the demigods. The Jnanis want to become one with the Supreme Absolute Truth. And the Yogis are satisfied simply by partial vision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, and ultimately by oneness with Him. But the Bhaktas, the devotees, want to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead eternally and serve Him. It has already been admitted that the Lord is eternal, and those who want the favor of the Supreme Lord perpetually are also eternal. Therefore, yogis here means devotees. By the mercy of the Lord, devotees can easily pass beyond the niscience of birth and death and attain the eternal abode of the Lord. The Lord is therefore not in need of another's favor, because no one is equal to or greater than Him. Actually, everyone needs the favor of the Lord for successful understanding of His human mission.
Mm-hmm. So do you understand what's being said here? Or what do you understand that is being said here? Maybe that's a better way to ask the question.
But we all need the mercy of the Lord.
Yeah, that's it, in basic summary. What I'm kind of getting from this, if you cared, is it okay if I share? Okay. So what I'm kind of getting from this is that Srila Prabhupada but the four Kumaras are trying to say to the Lord that although, Lord, you're saying that you worship the devotees and you need their mercy, but that's not true. That isn't the case. Actually, you don't need anybody's mercy. We all need your mercy. So it's kind of like one of those transcendental, humility battles, that devotees have sometimes where they kind of, no, Prabhu, I'm the most fallen. No, Prabhu, I'm your servant. I'm the most fallen, and then you get into that thing. But actually, what the four Kumaras are saying is actually true, but it's also true what the Lord is saying, because the Lord becomes subservient to His devotees. So they're both right. They're both right, mate. Okay. Now, do we want to read one more? Yeah, one more. Okay. Is that my turn?
That was a question and he answered it himself.
Would you like to answer?
Please, let's read.
Please, answer. Please. Everyone's here to please. So, text 20. And you may wonder why you're almost just seeing only our heads in the shot. Well, it's because we wanted to get the beautiful picture behind and really like that. Let's see, there we go. Okay, text 20, and then we'll conclude. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, the dust of whose feet is worn on the head by others, waits upon you as appointed, for she is anxious to secure a place in the abode of the king of bees, who hovers on the fresh wreath of tulsi leaves offered at your feet by some blessed devotee. Now that's very, very poetic. She's anxious to secure a place in the abode of the king of bees, who hovers on the fresh wreath. Let's see what Prabhupada has to say. As previously described, Tulasi has attained all superior qualities due to being placed at the lotus feet of the Lord. The comparison made here is very nice. As the king of bees hovers over the tulasi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, so Lakshmi, the goddess, who is sought by the demigods, Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, and everyone else, always engages in rendering service to the lotus feet of the Lord. The conclusion is that no one can be the benefactor of the Lord. Everyone is actually the servant of the Lord. Yeah, that's kind of what we were saying. Very nice. Thoughts, concluding comments, remarks, anything?
Like none. The special position of Tulsi Devi. That's, in the special position of Tulsi Devi.
Yeah.
Because she's always residing. Lotus feet of Krishna.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah. Beautiful.
And also, when you offer, like more in the temple especially, you have to put a tulsi leaf on all the preps. Imagine that. What a special place that he won't even look at it, let alone eat it, if you don't have tulsi leaf.
Yeah. I mean, God, tulsi is so important in the worship. Not only, I mean, when you wake the Lord up in the morning, you put tulsi at his lotus feet.
Mm-hmm.
When we put them to rest, we put flower petals. So in the morning, when you wake the Lord, tulsi at the lotus feet. Then when you dress, you offer with sandalwood paste tulsi to the lotus feet of the Lord. All offerings that come on to the altar for the Lord, means the bhoga offerings, all have to be done with tulsi. And of course, tulsi devi is on the altar next to the Lord, present a lot of the time. So yeah, tulsi is so super
Amazing.
special. Yeah, very, very, very powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all very much for your kind attention. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Grantaraj
Krishna.
Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.